You're an intelligent guy. Who didn't really care for this woman, who didn't love her. Or maybe for the life insurance. By all means, take a nap while your life's hanging in the balance. And what's the first thing you do when you get home?
I put the dogs in the kennel. I feed them. And Sunday I had moved a couple of plants to check on them because it rained really, really hard last night. The bougainvillea in the driveway was, when it rains heavy like that, it sags down so you can't drive in. So I took the pool brush on the end of a pole and I push it back to get it back up and in there, kind of locked in. We have construction starting in a couple of weeks, so I'm cleaning the courtyard in front of the greenhouse. I cleaned up some of the bougainvillea that I trimmed, put them in a wastebasket. I flipped the pool pump on. I cleaned the pool out again, full of leaves, and scrubbed it.
So, you cleaned the pool twice, and you fed the dogs twice? You fed them in the morning, and you fed them again when you got home?
Mm-hmm.
And you cleaned the pool when you woke up, and you cleaned it again when you got home?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
As I said, I worked in the yard. I worked in the driveway, which is what we call the courtyard.
Anybody come by?
No.
Mailman, delivery folks, friends, neighbors? No? No one came over?
No.
Okay. So you think you worked in the yard until how many minutes do you believe that was, or hours?
I would say less than an hour, but close, or more than 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there.
So you're closer to 3-ish?
I think it's after 3.
Okay. And then what do you do?
That's all that I can remember until I went upstairs to see when we were going to pick up Jackson.
Okay. So 3 to 3:15. Okay. And what happens when you enter the home? Is anything unusual? When you enter the garage apartment?
So, I could hear the water is running, but it's not running. It's not like the sound of the shower running. It's just, it's trickling out of the spout, which is weird, because, you know, if she's going to take a shower, she would do that to heat the water heaters. We always, when we step in, we always say hello at the bottom of the stairs. So I listen, because if she's on the phone with a work call, I don't announce myself. I just walk upstairs. I didn't hear her, and I could hear the water. I couldn't hear her. I knew something was wrong. And that's when I went into the bathroom, and that's when I saw her.
Because you heard the water and didn't hear her, you felt something was wrong?
It's one room. I went upstairs. I don't hear her talking on the phone, so I say hello. I don't hear anything back. I can hear water running. She's not saying anything. Doesn't seem right. Sometimes it is hard if you have the water running to hear somebody out there, so that was my assumption.
Okay, so it's one room. You don't see her?
Until I get to the bathroom.
Okay. Is the bathroom door open or closed?
Open.
Open? Okay, and so you walk toward the water that you're hearing?
Yeah, walking to the bathroom.
Okay. The door's open, and what happens? What do you see?
I see her laying with her head in the right-hand corner. The water is running, but I don't think the drain is closed, because if it was, it would be going over, right? So the water's like half full. She's submerged partially, but she's also partially not submerged, and one of her legs is kind of sticking up and out a little bit. And it's just extremely awful, and it doesn't look natural. Obviously she fell or something happened, and I tried to pick her up. I turned the water off. I tried to pick her up. She's stiff. It's hard.
She's stiff.
这里有不合理的地方。一般情况下，成年人尸体僵硬是在2-3小时后出现的，会先从脸部肌肉僵硬，再到下颌关节固定，4到6小时后，尸体僵硬才会蔓延到全身。而且尸体淹在浴缸里，水分多、湿度大的情况，还会减缓尸僵的时间。根据他说的版本是不合理的。
It's hard to pick her up. She's not. It's like a sack of potatoes. You know, it's not easy. She's not moving with me. I grabbed her arms and kind of pulled her this way, and over. I think partially over, and that's when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to carry her. I tried to pull her. I was being as careful as I could, and at the same time I wanted to get her out of the water. I was screaming, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I pulled her out into the other room, and I didn't know what to do. It was hard to move her that way, so I turned her and I held on to her wrists. I thought that I'm still thinking that there's something I can do to help, and I'm kind of moving her, trying to get her, to shake her a little bit and trying to get the water out of her lungs. I got her in front of the couch, and I had to stop and put her down, and I tried to lift her head up to kind of clear, I guess it's the thing you do if you're going to do CPR or something. And she's not responding. She has blood coming down her face and on the side of the body, and I'm still thinking that she's going to be okay. I got the we had taken the mattress pad off the bed. I set the mattress pad down underneath her, and I set her on it, and I tried to lift her, and I wiped. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what had happened. I had a towel that I had used to pull her out of the shower, or out of the tub with. I tried to wipe off to see what was...
Where was the blood coming from?
The left side of her face, here on her cheekbone.
Is that the right side?
I'm looking...
Or is it both?
I don't think so. She had blood. She had blood on the side of her head and down her neck, and when I wiped the part on her cheek, It's her left. It must have been her left. So it's my right as I'm looking at her. Right? I'm looking down. My right is her left. And wipe it. And more blood comes out. And the cut on her cheek.
There's a cut on her cheek? Okay. And you're pointing to the right side?
Her eye is all bruised all the way around. I'm freaking out.
So you notice you're pointing to your right. Is that her right?
No, her left.
Her left? So you're saying her left eye was bruised? And that she has blood coming from a cut on her face?
Underneath that eye. On the same side. And she has blood along under her nose.
Okay. I want to back you up just a
And
bit.
the water in the tub was tinged with blood.
And you said it's hard. How full was the tub?
It wasn't flowing over the top. It was very close, but not quite.
So it's the bottom part of the tub that's flowing, but it's not, you're saying it's not fully on.
The tub spout, exactly, is flowing. It's not pulled up, which is how you actuate the shower. That's not on. It's just coming out the spout.
Okay, and is the tub plugged on the bottom?
I think her head and she has long hair, are on it, and it looks like it's in the middle to me. There's a couple of settings. There's fully closed, close to, and fully open.
I want to walk you back to when you first walk in and you were describing her position. Is she in the tub? And is she face up or down? Okay. And the tub, you're saying, is not quite full, but almost full. So is she floating or not?
It doesn't look like she's floating. It doesn't look like she's floating, no. Because if you think about it, that level of water, if she were floating, she'd be she's down.
Is she submerged?
Yeah.
She's submerged. So she's underwater?
Most of her is submerged. Most of her head and neck are submerged.
So you said her head and neck is submerged under the water, and so that would mean her shoulders, breasts, stomach are also under, or no?
Mostly.
Is she naked at this point, or no?
No.
What is she wearing?
She's wearing the same thing she has on. And it's what she had on last night.
Do you recall what that is?
Black pair of shorts and a black tank top.
So when you saw her last, she was wearing the same clothing?
Mm-hmm.
Clothing was wet or not?
Yeah.
Her clothing is wet?
Yeah.
Okay. So her hair is definitely wet, right?
Yeah.
Her clothing, her tank, and her shorts are wet. And she's face down. So the first thing you do is what, if you recall?
I reached out and grabbed her. I reached out and touched her right arm.
Do you recall where?
Close to the shoulder, because I can't remember if it's sleeveless or low sleeve, but it's just, I tried to, she's looking the other way, and I'm saying her name, and I'm trying to pull her over, I'm trying to see her.
You're trying to turn her on her back?
Well, she's underwater, and she's looking that way down. I'm trying, just the first instinct to try to pull her
Pull her over?
out and over, yeah.
Okay. So when you turn her, before you pull her out of the water, you turn her and do you see her face?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the first thing you notice?
Her lips and her eye are both dark.
The lips are dark?
Yeah. Purple, blue, gray.
Okay. And her eye, which eye?
It is her left eye.
And what do you notice about that?
It's all discolored, and there's a cut underneath it. I tried to lift her, which I wasn't able to really do, so I ended up pulling her kind of up and out.
And you pull her by her arms?
So I grabbed someplace on her arm, tried to get kind of under it a little bit.
And you said she seemed stiff?
Yeah. Hard to move.
Okay. So from the moment that you entered the home until you called 911, how much time do you think elapsed with everything you attempted to do?
I've been thinking about that. 5 or 6 minutes.
5 to 6 minutes?
It probably seems that long, but it could have been less than that. But I can't imagine it being any longer than that.
Okay.
5-6分钟里面，发现 Shanti 浸在浴缸水中，再把她拉出来拖到卧室。问题是，警方在大约3分钟后抵达现场，发现浴缸里和浴室都是干的。别说浴缸是干的，就连 Shanti 身上穿的睡衣也是干的。这说明她根本就没有下水。警探还不着急挑明这些疑问，理由可能是还有些信息还没问完 David。
Okay, what do you feel as though Shanti, what might have cost her life? What do you think happened? What do you think is her cause of death?
At the point that she went back upstairs around 9:15, or she went back upstairs and did something else, and then decided to take a shower, but I think at some point she decided, I'm going to take a shower, and she stepped in and turned the water on, like she always does, to let it heat up. And that's the point that I think something went wrong. Either she slipped or she fell.
David 主动的向警探推理自己觉得的事情真相，这到底是有多自信才会这样做呢？当然，警探也已经有自己推理的版本了，因为法医报告显示 Shanti 的致命死因是被勒住颈部窒息而死的，并且也检验到头部曾受到多次严重创伤，并不是如 David 说是滑倒摔死的。他说发现 Shanti 倒在浴缸里的5分钟后就立刻报警了，但他说带狗出门之前 Shanti 是还活着，意思就是死亡时间没有超过2个小时。
Or she blacked out, or something caused her to collapse. And either one foot in the tub reaching to turn it on, the other foot slipping outside, or vice versa. It could have been it is kind of an awkward position.
So you think when she slipped, what would have happened to her physically? When she slipped, how would the injuries have been caused?
She would have had to have struck her head.
What?
If she was outside the tub, on the edge of the tub, or the tile wall, or the tub spout.
What would have caused this significant laceration that you described on her cheek?
I don't know.
What do you think would have caused the significant injuries and to her eye?
I don't know.
The one that you said was pretty swollen and shut.
It would have to have been falling directly on it without breaking your fall.
Falling directly on it without breaking your fall. When was the last time the two of you argued?
Very briefly on Saturday, right before we left to go to Max and Dottie's.
Okay, and what was that about?
We had a very minor disagreement on what time we were leaving.
So you say you last argued on Saturday about you getting ready to go to Max's house and when you were going to leave, etc. Has any fight ever turned physical between the two of you?
No.
Okay. Has she ever hurt you, hit you, struck you, threw anything at you?
No.
No. Have you ever harmed her physically?
No.
Choked her?
No.
Strangled her?
No.
No. Have you ever strangled her or choked her during sex just for heightened orgasm? Some couples do that.
Absolutely not. No.
Absolutely not. Okay. Was there ever anything around her neck that you noticed during you were moving her from the tub or attempting CPR? Was there anything around her neck at all?
No.
Okay.
No necklace. No. No, nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Did you ever, if in your assessment of her or attempt to help, have your hand on her neck at all?
Sure. Underneath, behind her.
Behind her head?
Like that.
To do the head tilt chin lift?
Sure. And then also to feel for the pulse like I told you.
Okay. Did you ever have your hand on her neck where you would have had to have squeezed it for any reason?
Possibly when I was trying to pull her out of the tub.
Tell me what happened.
As I was trying to turn her over, I might have put my hand under her arm or on the side of her head to try to turn her like that.
She would have been, as we know now, deceased at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So prior to her being deceased, do you have any reason to have your hand around or hands around her throat?
No, absolutely not.
That did not happen?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What do you think caused, or what do you think the injury is to her eye, the discoloration in this way?
I don't know. I don't know. I thought that she struck that side of her face because it seemed that she had the cut here and that was underneath the eye. It seemed like whatever it was, however she fell or whatever she hit, that probably happened at the same time.
The cut and the eye injury? Yeah. Do you think there's any sort of significant injury to her eye itself or to the bones around her eye at all?
I don't have any reason to think so.
Okay. Were you ever able to see the whites of her eyes on either eye?
This eye was the left eye was closed, as I said.
Okay.
And I believe that the other eye was closed too.
You believe her right eye was closed too?
Yeah.
警探已经几次在关于眼睛遇伤的问题上向 David 加强压力质问，因为滑倒通常是向后倒，造成的伤口应该只是后脑，怎么会是眼睛呢？而且那伤势更像是被打的， 因为警方发现 Shanti 只有一个耳环戴在耳朵上而已，另一个同样的耳环放在她的床头柜上，这说明在她死前，她正在摘下耳环，还没有来得及摘下另一个，就发生了什么事情打断了她的举动。David 在被问到这问题时，也做出了深呼吸的举动，这肢体语言可以解读成他此刻心里很紧张，承受着巨大的压力。
How much hair did you observe?
I saw 2 clumps in the tub, but
floating around the water or where?
As I pulled her out, so yes, they were floating around in the water, but when her head was down, her hair was pretty much covering the whole front of the tub. It had just fanned out in the water.
Mm-hmm. And where, like, her hair is missing, or what do you mean?
No, I just mean from off of her scalp.
Okay. Is there hair in the tub?
I did notice this, a couple pieces, or a couple clumps.
Where?
Floating in the water when I pulled her out.
That's significant amount, or not? Like it's been removed from her head, like pulled out of her head?
She normally when you get in the shower after she's had a shower, there's a clump of, I don't know exactly how much, but enough to affix itself to the drain and require after 2 or 3 times to pull it out.
Her injuries to me, David, seem really significant. More significant than from a soft tissue fall. More significant than from me tripping and falling and hitting my head and being knocked unconscious. Not only are they more significant than a fall, but they're inconsistent with a fall.
这是警探打算要进入对峙阶段，他觉得已经不需要再维持两人友好的关系了。他打算利用他不知道警方掌握的信息差，因为正好 David 这家伙一直在撒谎，在绕圈子，可以从这一点做内容，慢慢用手上的牌逼迫 David 为了保护自己而说出一些不符合事实的谎言。当这些谎言说得多时，以后能修改的空间就会越小。警探现在逼问得越多，就越有可能得到充满矛盾的供词。
It's just not accurate.
Okay.
Shanti did not fall and get those injuries.
Okay.
Without question. Okay. They're much more significant than that, and it's inconsistent with her injuries hitting and striking anything. That is just inaccurate. Okay. Her injuries are very severe.
这里警探一边说着不合理的原因， David 一边在点头。他的举动不像是大部分无辜嫌疑人的反应，从前面被信任、被同情只是基础的回答，到被质疑、被怀疑的节奏改变。要是你是被冤枉的，情绪肯定会激动地否定这些说法，表情也会在听到后马上表露出疑惑和莫名其妙，这些反应是绝对装不出来的。
Asking, I mean, why did you do it? That's basically, yeah, that's my only question.
Coming from that position, and since I'm saying I didn't do it,
I didn't break in her house. I don't know who she is. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know no girl named Candy. None of that shit, man.
但他点头这举动有点像我上学时期因为没做作业，试图欺骗老师编造谎言时，结果被老师识破。老师一边说这我的谎言是假的原因，一边点着头同意老师说的，试图掩盖我真实内心的不安，并且心里只想着我完蛋了，脑袋在飞速思考我该怎么尝试辩解呢？所以会下意识用点头来暂时先应付。
Okay, so the trouble I'm having with your story is you're there. Well, first of all, you're not really sharing the same residence. You're kind of living downstairs. She's living upstairs with her son. But her son's not there. So even when her son's not there, you're still not sleeping together. You're not in the same residence. So
during
spending
the day.
Spending
Just,
a lot
just
of time apart, it seems, a little bit. But then, conveniently, you're away for a while, and you come back and you find her like this. And you've had some pretty answers for just about everything we've talked about. Consistent, elaborate, detailed answers for everything we've talked about. The issue I'm having with is I absolutely think that she was deceased before you left to go to the park. And I think whatever happened to her happened before you went to the park. Okay? Do you know how long it takes someone to get stiff?
I do.
Okay, I do. Do you know how long it takes for blood to pool when you die?
No, I don't.
I do. We're also very well trained in what injuries look like perimortem, mortem, and postmortem.
Sure.
Okay? So her body's not lying to us,
Of course not.
and neither are her injuries. Okay? So I think that you've told us a significant amount of information. You've been very cooperative. But I also think that you've left some stuff out.
Wow.
And I think you've left some stuff out that is maybe something got out of hand, maybe you didn't mean for it to happen, maybe you got upset, maybe, but there's something that happened between the two of you before you left that house. Because she was deceased, or on her way to being deceased, before you left that house. And she had been deceased while you were gone. And when you came back and found her, it's pretty evident that she was deceased.
Yeah.
Cold, stiff,
Yeah.
significant swelling,
Yeah.
and a lot of bloating.
Agreed.
Okay? So whatever happened between 7 and 9:30 to 9:45 is where I need you to be significantly more honest. Now, if there's an explanation, I want to hear it.
I've told you everything.
But you've left out something, David, because this woman has significant injuries. Okay, this is not from a fall. So I need you to explain to me and to Detective McClellan what happened this morning before you left to take the dogs.
It was exactly as I stated. I haven't left one thing out.
Okay. Did you two argue?
No, absolutely not.
Did you fight?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did you harm Shanti in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you choke her?
Absolutely not.
Did you strangle her?
Without question, no.
Did you beat her?
No.
Did you hit her with anything?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you have injuries?
I do not.
That, in my mind, as an investigator, what I would consider someone fighting for their life.
No.
Someone trying to harm you to save their own life.
Absolutely not.
Would you mind showing me your chest and back?
Sure.
I don't need to see anything else, just your
Sure.
chest, back, and arms.
Sure.
Anything that happened between the two of you where you scratched?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So, I'm just going to walk around you.
Sure.
Did anyone touch you here today?
No.
Grab you?
No.
Here in this area, did she grab your arm?
No.
Go ahead and you get dressed.
Okay. There was no animosity between us whatsoever.
Are you saying that you did not harm her?
I am.
Okay. So, my interpretation of the schedule for the morning is she plans on, you think, going to the dentist. You plan on telling her you're going to go to the park with the dogs. So that tells me that neither of you expected anyone to be at the home. she was going to be gone at the dentist. You were going to go with the dogs. So that tells me no one expected anyone to come there for any reason. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, is she having any sort of beef with anyone else that you're aware of? Any problems?
No.
Okay. Anyone that would want to do her harm?
No.
Okay. Where's your wedding ring?
Pardon me?
Where's your wedding ring?
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
It's right here.
And why is it on that hand? I'm curious.
After we both scaled back, we both lost a significant amount of weight, and in the pool it will slip off of this.
In the pool it slips off your finger?
I mean, completely off the finger, yeah.
Mm.
It's barely on this one.
Wow. So you
either
switched it?
either I need to resize, or I need to
Gain weight.
gain a couple pounds back to get to where I was when I originally got it.
Curious.
But
I didn't know if that was your wedding ring or not, because it was on
It
that
is.
hand.
It is, and I never take it
It's
off.
just loose. Okay. And what does she wear?
David 在这里有几秒钟愣住了，警探很坏的用几句话做铺垫，再突然的问戒指的问题，这点也是这案子的关键信息，因为 Shanti 手上戴着价值15000美元的结婚戒指不见了，这也成为了 David 之后为自己辩护的点。我们后面会再提到这戒指的伏笔。
She has the wedding band that we...
She has a wedding band on her left hand.
Correct.
We're going to take a break. I'm going to head directly to the restroom and we'll bring you back.
Thank you.
I'm going to get you another water. And then you've got more crackers here. And I don't know if there's a trash can in here, but we can help you get rid of some of this stuff.
审讯的现阶段已经不再是收集信息为主，问答环节已经结束了。警探虽然说了休息一下，但目的正好相反，他们在试着让嫌犯处于精神疲劳的状态。当一个人精神处于极度疲态时，就越容易出错。
Hi. You doing okay?
Yeah, it's just...
Did you sleep a little?
I did.
I know you've got to be exhausted. Or at least mentally. Yeah. Ow. Detective Collins just wanted to go over some of the points. I know I had more of an opportunity to ask questions than she did, so we wanted to just clear up some things with her.
So, when you decided to go upstairs today to find out what time you guys were going to pick up, or you or her were going to go pick up, think about what you've told us for a minute. You're an intelligent guy, right? I mean, you obviously had a really good career at 3M, right? And do real estate and sales and now home renovations. You're a bright guy. If somebody was telling this to you, wouldn't you, as an intelligent person, think that something's not right?
Asked you that, David, is sometimes couples will play that game where it heightens an orgasm if you preclude someone from breathing for just a moment right before orgasm. It's like the choking game that they call it, where it heightens an orgasm if you choke one another. Do you ever do that?
We've never done it.
Okay.
We did see it on an episode of Californication or something like that.
You saw an episode on Californication?
That I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called, but it's never been part of our repertoire or anything that we've ever needed to experiment with.
Okay, so that was not something that occurred.
Correct.
Okay, all right, you can go ahead.
So I just want to point out some things to you that I think are unusual. There's so many, I really don't know where to begin, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that I find that the living arrangement I find to be completely unusual for you to be primarily living downstairs. I think the chain of events today I find to be unusual as far as primarily with what you've said and the contradictions in what you've said, as far as the water was trickling, to then explaining that the water it can't trickle. It's either all the way on or it's all the way off. There's no adjustment in the speed of the water coming out of the faucet. That was a direct contradiction that you made in your statement. The different versions of how she was in the tub. There's been 3 or 4 different accounts of how she was found, to how she was moved from the tub through the bathroom into the living room or the primary living area. There's been several different versions of that from what I take from listening to you earlier.
I've added more detail, but I don't think that anything, and I'm not trying to, I'm obviously not in a position to argue, but I thought every time you described what I saw, it was the same.
And then the primary thing is the fact that the injuries that this woman, sustained, that I saw on her, absolutely 100%, in my opinion, not possible from a slip and a fall in a bathtub.
You got to explain that, David.
That's our biggest concern, is how do you explain this woman's head being swollen, her eyes being black and swollen, lacerations on her face where the blood has dried this way, yet she's in a tub supposedly full with water, clumps of hair missing from the back of her head.
Missing?
You clearly have no history. We looked you up in every system that I could find. I don't think by any means that whatever happened today was intentional, was planned, what was part of your character, of who you are, by any means. But I know, and you know, that something happened there today that caused this, because it didn't happen from a slip and fall in the bathtub. You have to help us.
And that's why I've tried to answer every question.
But here's the thing, is every time you say tried, it means you failed. And you failed right now at helping us understand that.
I've told you everything.
You're missing parts, though. You're missing parts. Come on.
I would tell you, I have never, ever, and would never, ever hurt her.
I don't think you hurt her on purpose. David, I don't.
I would never hurt her on accident. It's
one of 2 things today. It was on purpose or it was an accident. You pick.
警探现在用的技巧是替代罪行技巧。警方会用一些道德上更容易接受的案发经过版本，让嫌犯自己选择更能接受的那个版本。这样做的目的是让他心里的罪恶感降低，就像现在的警探想把对 David 妻子的谋杀换成是意外的误杀，看看他会不会挑警探说的那个版本。
But one of the 2 things happened. She didn't do this to herself. and there was nobody else there. What are we supposed to think? What you're saying doesn't make sense.
I'm saying I don't know what happened.
So when you pulled her out of the tub, you agreed with me that the water came out of the tub. There's not a spot of water on the floor, David. The carpet isn't wet. The carpet isn't wet from where she was pulled out of the bathtub, sopping wet, all the way around to the front of the couch. The carpet's not wet. There's no blood on the carpet. Whatever happened today, like I said, was not planned, was not on purpose. Whatever happened, I'm certain was an accident. And that's why none of these details are matching up with what actually was there. Because there's no water on the floor. There's no splashing of water anywhere in the bathroom. The inside of the tub is dry, completely dry. The tub doesn't dry that fast. It was warm in that apartment. There's no water on the floor. There's no water on the carpet. Her clothes weren't even wet. So you didn't pull her out of the tub at 2:50 or 3 o'clock or whatever time. It didn't happen. That's just some of the stuff I can lay out for you that's just not matching up. Okay? Do you remember, it's a pretty big case in Orange County. Do you remember Casey Anthony? Okay.
这里警探特意用 Casey 的案子当例子，暗示 David 说谎是没用的。警方的一套流程能够知道你有没有说谎。这在美国是一起很著名的案子，甚至还拍成电影。刚巧又是发生在同一个州。Casey 在审讯中谎言连篇，是一个极度自私冷血的人。为了自保，不承认是自己害死孩子，警探也拿他来做反面教材，试图唤醒嫌犯的人性和同情心。但讽刺的是，同样是说谎 ，Casey 最后因为证据不足被判无罪释放。不知道这会不会反而增强了 David 的信心，认为说谎这条路就是正确的。
Regardless on what you think about whether she had anything to do with that little baby's dying or not, okay? What we do know is that everything that she said was proven to be a lie. From going to work at Universal, from all of the different things, so where she was, the nanny, the blah, 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 all the stuff, right? Long time, unfortunately, too long later on, they find that poor little baby in the woods, right? The mother clearly, the day she makes the phone call, says, I smell a rotting body or whatever she said in the trunk of the car. If Casey Anthony had come forward immediately, or even when the mother first picked up on what was wrong with the car and said, I screwed up. I wanted to go party, I left the kid in the car, the heat killed the kid. Okay? We can forgive people for accidents, for nearly anything. But what we can't forgive is when somebody maintains that lie and that coldness. We can't forgive them for that. What happened today, David? What did she say? What did she do today? It started the argument. Was it about the house? About her kid? What was she mad at? Money, finances, getting the house done. Let it out, dude.
I hope that you're not some guy that just goes around and takes advantage of women for financial gain. Okay? I mean, I know there's some mean people on Match.com, but I hope that when we dig into your past, we're not going to find that you're going around taking advantage of women around the country. Okay? I don't think that's you. Okay? I don't think that's who David is. I think David made a mistake. But all we have right now is what the evidence tells us, what Shanti tells us, and a whole lot of bullshit from you, and that's not going to work. Okay? Her body doesn't lie. I don't think what happened to Shanti is fair either, but I don't think it's fair to you to make you some sort of cold-blooded killer monster who was out greedy for money. I don't think that's who you are. But those are your choices. You either made a mistake or you're a monster. Who didn't really care for this woman, who didn't love her, who married her because maybe she had potential to make really good money or had some money, or maybe for the life insurance. Who knows? I mean, that's what people are going to think unless we were able to say the truth.
That I thought it was more likely she had gotten in the shower before I took the dogs than after. That's all I said.
Okay, look at.
So I was still
Dave,
surprised.
she didn't stick her foot in the shower and slip. That didn't happen.
If she did, she would have fell backwards.
And you didn't find her at 3 o'clock.
Didn't
That didn't happen.
I don't know that.
You don't know that? Common sense would tell you if you pull a woman soaking wet out of a tub at 3 o'clock and call the police within 6 minutes, then everything will be soaking wet when the police arrive within 3 minutes of that.
Yeah.
That's common sense.
So how did everything dry up?
That's our question. Because
'Cause it
she
happened-
wasn't pulled out at 3 o'clock. It didn't happen. You can take a
Science.
shower at 6:30 in the morning and at 10 o'clock at night my towel's still wet. Your shower even stays wet. I mean, it's just common sense.
The evidence and her body speak for itself. And your story is BS. Because I'm telling you right now, nobody is going to believe that. Nobody. If you maintain that, you're going to look like a fool. Picture telling that story with your mother sitting there listening to that. And try it.
You want me to tell your truth, or do you want to tell your truth? Because if I tell your truth, it's probably going to be first degree, premeditated, and I'll make you probably look like I am. Okay?
And then what happens?
You face the music.
Which is?
You face the music. You face a jury of your peers.
I feel like everything that I have said, and I know you don't want to hear this, you told me over and over, the things that you call discrepancies still ring true and are, if not perfectly accurate, directionally correct to everything.
If not perfectly accurate, directionally correct.
What?
You're talking about things like evaporation rate and how wet something was. If I miscalculated how wet.
Directionally correct? I don't know if I know what that means. Are we boring you? Look at his picture, David.
I have.
How do you explain this? What are you going to tell Jackson? By all means, take a nap while your life's hanging in the balance.
审讯过程已超过8小时，不知道 David 为了逃避开始选择沉默，还是精神真的已经极度疲劳，审问已无法再继续下去。警方随即并没有马上起诉他，而是先放他走，因为 David 也有补充，他发现家里不见了5000美元的现金，由于钱和 Shanti 的结婚戒指都不见了，他和他的辩护律师团队试图把故事说成有可能是入室偷盗事件。在他出门带狗散步的时候，有人进门偷东西，正好碰到了 Shanti， 于是把他给灭口了。但是警探对这个解释并不买账，因为房子门窗都没有入侵的痕迹，贼是怎么闯进来的呢？并且也发现 Shanti 的房间里的桌面上摆着不少值钱的东西，如果真是入室打劫的话，这么明显的财物怎么可能会放过呢？接着 David 又有一种版本的解释，可能 Shanti 忘记锁门了，然后贼刚进来就被 Shanti 发现，所以把目击者 Shanti 灭口后就匆忙离去，没带走更多的财物。对此 David 的辩护团队还找了私家侦探打听线索，并且发现到有个流浪汉很可疑。接着警方派人找到了这个流浪汉，经过调查后认为他不可能是犯罪嫌疑人，因为附近没有目击证人，现场也没有任何证据线索能和他联系在一起，所以就排除了流浪汉是嫌疑人的身份。在4个月后， David 以1级谋杀的罪名被正式逮捕。在被逮捕的当天，警方搜索了他的住处，结果惊讶的在他的住处找到了 Shanti 的结婚戒指。这说明了 David 为了脱罪，一次次的向警方撒谎。更惊讶的事还没完，案发后，警方在他们的房子外装上了监控，结果发现有个可疑人物经常进出那所房子。一调查才知道，那可疑人物就是辩护律师请的私家侦探。他把犯罪现场的几样证据给偷走了。第一个证据就是 Shanti 的床单，并且还带有血迹，相信就是案发时的那个床单。第二个证据就是青色的电线，警方马上联想到这可能是这案件的凶器。Shanti 的死因是被勒死的，这是最关键的证据。于是马上检测这电线上有没有 David 或者 Shanti 的 DNA， 结果没发现有任何残留的 DNA， 毫无疑问，很可能已经被处理干净了。辩护律师向警方说，因为 David 以自我了断威胁要这么做，所以他们也只好保持沉默。他们随后也解除了帮 David 辩护的合同。警方把有关 David 的所有相关资料调查得非常彻底，又再发现了几个线索。扣留所里的囚犯线人爆料， David 有研究一种毒药，那毒药是从一种南美蛙身上提取出来的，而且无色无味，是一种慢性毒药，进入身体后完全检测不出来。警方怀疑 David 就是每天做饭的时候下毒给他的前妻和 Shanti， 因为他们都得过阑尾炎。警方还收到一个线报，爆料 David 是欧兰多一间同性恋教堂俱乐部的会员。收到此消息的警察立刻去欧兰多教堂调查，那里有个员工从照片上认出了 David， 并且作证说有见过他跟其他男人在教堂里发生关系。
I was just walking through and I saw David, he was giving oral sex to the sky.
那或许就可以解释为什么 David 等不及 Shanti 体内的毒药慢慢发作就动手了。犯案动机除了钱财纠纷，也可能是 Shanti 突然发现了丈夫是个同性恋，然后怀疑他根本没钱，接近自己的目的也只是要骗钱而已。警方之后的调查也证实了 David 之前跟 Shanti 说自己继承了400-500万美元，这事的确是假的，他才不是什么有钱人，都是装出来的。警方推理的版本是 Shanti 得知了一切，随即发生了激烈争吵，并且决定不再付房子的装修费， David 才会因此下杀手。最后 David 连请辩护律师的钱都是用 Shanti 的账户付款的。 David 想从 Shanti 的财产里调钱出来，但被法庭阻止了，因为 Shanti 还有一个孩子，孩子也有财产继承权。在法官判决结果前，任何人都不能动用 Shanti 的财产。这案子从2018年拖到现在的原因，就是没有任何辩护律师愿意给他做辩护，因为怕他没钱付。 David 因为没钱，所以要申请公派律师，可是法庭认为他是有钱的，只是在隐瞒财产。这案子在美国有很多人关注结果，因为他也有可能会被无罪释放。虽然能证明 David 有足够的犯案动机， 但毕竟检控方并没有关键性证据证明 David 就是杀妻子Shanti的真凶。屏幕前的你们又是怎么看的呢？好的，这期的视频就到这里，喜欢的观众朋友可以点赞、订阅、分享。我是海军蓝，我们下一期影片再见。